So Formula One is headed to Las Vegas for the first time since 1982. In 1982, it was called the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, and it was the last race of the season, held September 25th, 1982. And this was in the parking lot of Caesars Palace. They built a track. Last race of the season, and the World Championship would be decided. Keke Rosberg in a Williams. He had been very consistent throughout the season, only won one race, but he was leading the World Championship with 40. He was leading the World Championship with 42 points, and McLaren's John Watson had 33. Now, basically, no matter what happened, Rosberg just had to finish fifth or better, and he would be the world champion. In the constructors, well, there was a lot of permutations that could have happened. Anybody really could have won the Constructors' World Championship. Ferrari, Williams, McLaren, even Renault. Renault was a bit difficult. They had to get a 1-2 finish. But they took a 1-2 on the grid with Alain Prost and René Arnoux on the front row. And the thing about this Las Vegas track, I mean, it seemed to suit the normally aspirated cars. Back then, you had turbo cars and you had normally aspirated cars. Turbo cars were faster. It's pretty similar to today, where you've got Red Bull cars and then other cars that aren't Red Bull, and the Red Bulls are fast and the rest are all slow. But at Vegas, the normally aspirated cars were performing quite well, and it was Michele Alboreto in the Tyrrell. He got third on the grid. Eddie Cheever, the American, he did well in his Ligier in qualifying, and the two championship contenders, Rosberg and Watson, were in 6th and 9th, respectively. But this wasn't new, because John Watson had made sort of a name for himself of coming through the field in the 82 season. And with most of the turbo cars would just blow up or run out of fuel or retire anyway, which is why Rosberg was leading the World Championship, only having won one race. The Ferraris, Mario Andretti was standing in a Ferrari, and Patrick Tambay, and Tambay was injured, so he didn't race. So it was only Mario Andretti's Ferrari. And it's worth saying, this was the last race for Mario Andretti in a Formula One car. Also the last Grand Prix for the Ensign team and the Fittipaldi team. And the last Grand Prix for the March team until 1987. And also Matra as an engine supplier. It was also the first time that one country had hosted 3 different rounds in a season in 1982. The previous ones being the Long Beach and Detroit Grand Prix. So enough babbling, let's have a look at some racing, because it was the 80s and they used to race in those days. Let's have a look and see what happened in the 1982 Caesars Palace Grand Prix.
Red light and then the green, there's the red. Now comes the green, the field moves away, and Eddie Cheever making a superb start in the middle, trying to go between the two Renaults, but it's Prost. Alain Prost who goes ahead in the Renault. René Arnoux is second. Alboreto and Cheever absolutely side by side into the first left-hander. But it's the Renault with the red dab on the nose, that's Prost. From René Arnoux, Alboreto is third. Patrese is now fourth, Cheever is fifth, Andretti is sixth, and already Keke Rosberg up into seventh place. But these two Renaults moving away, the first of 75 laps.
So the two Renaults would speed away from the start, and Eddie Cheever was keen to do well in his home Grand Prix. He tried to go around the outside of Alboreto on the first left-hander. They touched wheels and continued with Alboreto in front. And Eddie Cheever unfortunately got a vibration on his front wheel, and Alboreto's Tyrrell had a big black tyre mark all along the right side pod. So the stewards decided to give them a 10-second stop-go penalty, drive-through penalty, red, black flag with a cross. No, wait, that never happened because the 80s and they were allowed to race. So Keke Rosberg was in 6th place, and that didn't bother him too much at this stage because John Watson was all the way back down in 12th. And with a great deal of cars in between them, Rosberg, he could relax a little bit here while the Renaults continued out front. They would no doubtedly retire. And in the meantime, Arnoux did manage to get past his teammate Prost and into the lead.
Past the Renaults and get into the lead, and there goes Rosberg. No, he doesn't. Andretti shuts the door firmly in his face, and that's Nigel Mansell it looked to me as though Mansell had a moment with Mauro Baldi, and certainly Mansell is going to have to call it a day. John Watson has passed Nelson Piquet, so we're starting to see John Watson turning in the sort of drive that he specialises in, of coming through from behind. Oh, and Cheever, I thought Cheever was through then, but once again, Riccardo Patrese firmly shuts the door, moves across.
Some good battling and racing going on, and poor old Nige, he was trying to have a good race, and unfortunately he crashed out. And then just a few laps later, it was the inevitable happened with René Arnoux. He would retire with engine failure, promoting Prost to the lead, and now Alboreto into second place in the Tyrrell. John Watson, meanwhile, had passed Nelson Piquet, and the next lap he got past Rosberg, the next lap he got past Andretti, and the next lap he got past Eddie Cheever, and was eventually up into third place. But he had a 32-second gap to the two leaders.
Nice battle, because that's Alboreto, number 3, in third place. And while Alain Prost moves away in front, René Arnoux clearly not so happy with his car now. Watson's moved up. Watson is now past Cheever, and Watson is attacking the Brabham of Riccardo Patrese. Yet again, Watson overtakes where others can't. It is extraordinary how this Irishman, when he gets his car set up as he wants, when he really gets the bit between his teeth, he is able to carve his way through the traffic. In fact, Cheever fighting back to Watson. Cheever almost alongside Watson. But John copes with that. Oh, and a little twitch from Cheever there. That's going to delay him a little bit. Yes, look at the McLaren move away, and the Brabham slows. Riccardo Patrese slows, and there is Riccardo Patrese in the pits. Now, this means that John Watson has got a much clearer road in front of him. John Watson has come through in magnificent style from 12th place, which is what he was on our lap chart at the end of the first lap, to 4th. René Arnoux into the pits. So Alboreto goes through. That means Michele Alboreto is second, and it also means that John Watson is now up into third place. In 5th place, Mario Andretti, and in 6th place, Keke Rosberg. There are the 5th and 6th men. Oh, and a problem for Andretti. Andretti goes sideways. A very surprising place for him to go. The car flicked sideways against him. The car is off, Andretti is out of the car, and I think that was a suspension breakage. So, Keke Rosberg, by the default anyway of Andretti, by the default of the Renault of René Arnoux, and indeed by the default of Riccardo Patrese. Now Keke Rosberg of Finland finds himself in 5th place. Oh, that's quite a brew-up for Elio De Angelis, a comprehensively blown-up engine, I would guess. Next year, Elio De Angelis will have a Renault turbo engine in the back of his new Lotus. He won't be using a Cosworth engine, he'll be using a Renault.
It was an unfortunate mark on the 1982 season. Just plain unreliability. You saw in a matter of laps, lap 17, Riccardo's Brabham BMW had a clutch problem. 3 laps later, René Arnoux' Renault with the engine problem. 6 laps after that, Nelson Piquet's Brabham BMW retired spark plug problem. Then Mario Andretti, we saw there the same lap as Nelson Piquet, broken suspension. And then just 2 laps after that, the Cosworth engine in the back of Elio De Angelis' Lotus decided to blow up and spill oil all over the place as well. And just bad reliability, especially with the turbos, and especially with the Brabhams, the BMWs, and the Renaults. Easily could have won World Championship in 1982, but for so many retirements.
More room than he has to, but he has to give him enough room. John Watson, having come through from 12th place to 3rd, doesn't at the moment look like getting any further. It's 11 seconds from Prost to Alboreto, and 12 seconds from Alboreto to Watson. Now this is interesting because Alboreto is getting visibly closer to Alain Prost. Prost is not as far in front of Alboreto as he was as the cars are working through the traffic. This is the battle for the lead now. But Prost, no, Alboreto alongside. Alboreto is absolutely alongside, and this surely must be the lead for the Italian. No. On goes the turbo power of the Renault. The Renault is back in front. But now, another charge up the inside, and this time, Michele Alboreto has done it. Michele Alboreto is leading the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, and there's nothing that Alain Prost can do about it. Niki Lauda in the pits, and Watson's done it. Watson is second. John Watson goes neatly round the back of the Renault. John Watson goes through into second place.
So Alain Prost's tyres had started to go off. He was picking up marbles, and he picked up a vibration and couldn't fight off the guys behind any longer. And sadly for John Watson, just as he got past Alain Prost, he managed to pull out a little bit, and then he encountered the same problem with his tyres, and he was pretty much stuck in second place as Cheever got past Prost. So good for Eddie Cheever. He was now in a podium position in one of his home Grand Prix. Alboreto, in a normally aspirated Tyrrell, was leading the race, and Prost had dropped to fourth, and Rosberg was quite happy in fifth place because that's all he needed to do. He just did what he did in the 82 season, which was get his car to the end of the race and pick up all the points that all the turbo guys who blew up their engines left behind.
Eddie Cheever, who finishes third, and still we wait for Rosberg. Alain Prost, just a few seconds in front of him. Alain Prost is going to finish fourth, but there is Prost taking fourth, and there is Rosberg, who takes fifth place. It was fifth place that he needed to be sure of the title. It's fifth place that he's earned, and Keke Rosberg is the 1982 World Champion of Motor Racing. Jointly in second place, Didier Pironi and John Watson, both with 39 points. Prost is fourth in the championship with a few more points today for his fourth place.
Alboreto would win the race and earn himself a drive for Ferrari. And Ferrari, despite the loss of Gilles Villeneuve earlier in the season, managed to win the Constructors' Championship in 1982 through just pure consistency. And Nico's dad, he had become the first driver since Mike Hawthorne in 1958 to win the world title, having won just one Grand Prix. And in this 82 season, there were 9 different winners in 9 different races, 9 consecutive races, and 11 different winners out of 16 races in the season. So 82 season, really great season, really exciting one, went right down to the wire, and ended up in Las Vegas. I don't think that this coming weekend's Las Vegas Grand Prix is going to be quite as exciting, since Red Bull have already won everything. But anyway, hopefully there will be some good racing if the stewards can stay out of it long enough to let the racing happen. And perhaps we'll have a good race. We'll have to wait and see. Until the next one, guys, have a good time all the time.